And we're live.
Man,
Hello.
today's my 15-year anniversary on Twitter. Cool.
15?
Yeah.
You're old.
My Miskatonic, which was my original one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You throw me off at times because I have to pay attention
I
to
know,
the icon
I'm not
who's
paying
tweeting at
attention
me.
yeah, I'm not paying attention, and I see it on one, and I respond with the other, and I'm like, I need to quit that.
He is schizophrenic on Twitter. TweetDeck is not your friend. All right, everybody. Hope everybody's doing well in the chat.
Hello, chatters.
There's a few of you. Hyper, appreciate you warming up the crowd.
Chattinians. Miskatonic, that's what she said. Ha 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 ha. Oh, boy.
Oh my goodness, you scared away some people already. Good job.
We go with the sophomoric jokes, man. Okay.
Oh my goodness. It has been a very tiresome day. We had our at the office. We have our company's been around for almost 30 years. So a couple of years back before I came back to the company, they started doing this thing called Decade Club. So if you've been there 10 years, they do a big lunch and everything. Mm-hmm. And obviously over pandemic, we didn't do it and all this other stuff. So one of the sort of downsides to it, because I was in the Charlotte office, that we would hold the thing in Raleigh because most of the people were in Raleigh. And so Charlotte folks and Wilmington or wherever was going on at the time would have to drive up there. So basically a wasted day for those people.
Right. Yeah.
And so what they decided this year to switch things up and do it locally. So it was just 20 of us in the Raleigh group. So we only inducted like 2 new people. So the rest of us have been 12, 14. Some of us have been there. I mean, this is technically my 19th year. So next year will be 20 that I've been with the company. First tour, I always call them my first tour.
Whichever.
So, and then there were several other people that were 20 plus, which confused all the folks there that didn't know me, especially the new people in the club, because I was like, I remember your first day. And they're like, how do you remember their first day? You've only been here 19. I'm like, yeah. And then my boss, Willie, the owner, he would sort of, Chris has been here since like nearly the beginning, kind of thing. So it was very entertaining. But no, so we ate a lot of good Greek food.
Oh, so nice.
I'm still recovering.
Yeah.
Today's just been me sitting at the desk. Like I'm trying my best to stay awake. There was a lot of coffee this morning, and then after work, I just sort of sat on the couch for a couple of minutes, and I had already dozed off. I was like, nope, I need to go upstairs and get ready for the show.
Do something.
Gonna
go out for the night.
Yeah, but it was good stuff. Yeah, this is the first time I've been to this restaurant. I forget what the name of it is off the top of my head, but it's only a couple blocks from the office. So I'm not the most fit guy in the world, but I do enjoy walking a couple blocks. So walking there was fine. It was the walk back.
Yeah, no doubt.
Like, it was like, I don't know, 6 blocks or whatever. So
carrying
it's just kind of like
extra pounds. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was a lot of pasta in me. There was some baklava in there. There was, but it was good. It was good stuff. So my wife is like, yeah, we'll have to go there. So
yeah, we do our Greek food on occasion.
Yeah, it's good stuff. I like it. Even my daughter, there was a place in Spartanburg my daughter used to love. Just a small little mom and pop, Greek place.
Yeah.
That's the best, man. I refused to go there for some reason. Like there was nothing on the menu that really, but I went there one time and was like, oh, never mind. I get it now. It's like, this is all good. Let's see. Ate at a Greek restaurant in the 90s, ordered a steak sandwich. Literally got a steak between 2 slices of bread, and I was not disappointed.
I'm not sure that's a steak sandwich, but
okay. It's close.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I do remember there was a Greek place that we used to go to all the time when I was growing up. I'd forgotten about it. My wife had to remind me. She was like, yeah, wasn't there's I was like, oh yeah, there was that place. So
by Appy State?
No. When I was growing up in Durham.
Oh, growing up. Okay.
Yeah.
You went to Epi State, right?
Yes, I
Briefly.
did. Yeah.
Okay.
Briefly, yeah, until they
What is the town it's in?
boom.
Boone. Okay.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah. Yeah, I was there for 2 years on a I was an English major and did mass comm for a minor and then forgot to go to class. There's my camera. Forgot.
Oh, did you? Oh, okay.
Yes, and then they asked me not to come back. So
Okay. Yeah, that's how that happens.
that's how that happens. So,
So,
like, you can
yeah,
keep paying us money if you want, but
yeah, we're
it's not
not going
doing
to give you a piece of paper.
it's not doing you any good. So.
Doug said hi. So, hi, Doug. And
Hello, Doug.
Terry Moore. I don't recognize her. She likes Greek food also. Yeah, I think she must be a newbie here on the chat or something. I don't know. But welcome anyways. I'm
You're
not
welcome. Yes.
not trying to disparage or anything.
Very coincidental. Same last name. I'm sure you two may know each other. You know how people do that? Like, oh, your last name's Moore?
Strictly
Oh,
coincidental. I mean, it's not like I'm the only Moore in the world. It's
exactly.
actually within probably an hour of me, there's another Edward L. Moore Jr. that
Oh,
lives.
yeah.
And
That's awesome.
I have run afoul of that with official documentation.
Oh, that's not
And
good.
that's how I found that out. I'm like, I don't live there. That's not me.
So my wife went to cousins. Yeah, y'all are cousins.
We're cousins.
It all
Yes.
makes sense.
Kissing cousins, of course. I'll go ahead and claim that
there you
because
go.
everybody will go, ooh,
Because it's
so,
West
yeah.
Virginia? Is that what?
Very funny.
Oh,
Oh,
see.
okay, but I'm ching.
But I have friends in West Virginia.
Yeah, not anymore.
No, not just y'all. You're not the only one I know that I can remember. Anyway, no, my wife went to college. Her undergrad, she went and knew a guy, Chris Barton. He then went to college with a buddy of mine when my buddy was getting his master's, and Chris Barton was getting his master's as well. So they went to the same college too.
Cool.
And then I want to say he and his wife got married either the same weekend my wife and I got married, or it was the next weekend.
Okay.
Because we got one of his wedding gifts sent to us. Like the guest, whoever it was, couldn't be at the wedding, so they just ordered it and had it mailed to the church, and just got the wrong church.
Mike, I don't think you want to claim that because he's like a serial killer, right?
Yeah.
I don't think that
because I'm sure that's a joke you have never been told.
That doesn't look good, man. I don't know if I'd claim that. Wow.
Michael Myers seems like such a nice guy. So, but yeah. All right. So, I mean, we could go on about wrestling. We did that.
Oh yeah, we hadn't gone live yet, but we were talking AEW and WWE there for good hard 20 minutes. We were
Unfortunately, I'm gonna miss SmackDown. It's live here in Raleigh tomorrow night, Friday night. So I just found out about it an hour ago now. So he likes wearing a William Shatner mask. Yes, he does.
Yep.
A bleached out. But Ed, is it you and Terry, or is it just?
Of course.
Okay.
No,
I didn't know. I just
didn't
know how big Terry was a wrestling fan.
Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah, we sit there for 4 hours usually every Wednesday night watching Dynamite and Dark Elevation. Friday we tape Rampage and usually watch it Saturday morning. Yep. We've been watching this year's G1 from over in Japan. Yep. We watch AAA matches when we can. The big ones. I mean the various lucha. There's like 5 or 6 companies that do stuff every week. So I mean, it would be almost impossible to keep up with that. More than he is, she says. Bah,
oh, nice.
Oh, yeah, okay, throw me under the bus.
Gauntlet is thrown.
The wheels go round and round, yeah.
Well, that's cool. That's cool. So y'all are going, you said in 2 weeks or next week?
Next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday, yeah. So cool. So, All right, so I will go ahead and we'll go ahead and go live, and then
Yeah.
we'll get back to this stuff. So
Do
let's go
it.
ahead and go live. Okay, in 3 and 2 and 1. Everybody, welcome back to Comic Addiction. This is episode 144. I am Chris Barton, one of your hosts, and with me, as always, is Mr. Ed. Once again, into the fray more. Ed, how are you?
Pretty good. Pretty good.
All right, I paused there. I shouldn't have.
Once again, into the fray.
So I hope everybody's doing well. I apologize. I had a few people comment that both on the podcast and on the website and on YouTube, I had last week's episode as episode number 142. So we had
Yeah, I did
142
notice
number
that.
twice there. So I fixed that today. So I apologize for that. So I appreciate everybody who caught that for me and messaged me. I just it's what happens when you duplicate things and then you go, oh, I'll edit that. And, like I've edited every other one,
Yep.
that's all been fine. But every once in a while, it falls through the
Um,
cracks.
Hyper. I'm not normally the brightest bulb in the pack, but I
No,
can keep up typically. But I don't get Patty Duke taught us. I don't know that one.
I've seen a lot of
I think you might have exceeded my pop culture knowledge there, which I'll give you. May not be hard, but I laugh at the thought, but I have no idea why. So
well, I'm sure he'll let us know as we go. So,
you are too young. I thought it
there,
might be an
there you
age
go.
thing. Yeah.
Yep. Now I could probably ask my wife. She's a big fan of all that, the olden days of movies and all
Yeah.
that. So she may actually know what that reference is.
You, you see Mike's comment there. That's
Oh
unfortunate.
yeah. Mike says I was a huge wrestling fan until Barb won tickets to a Hulk Hogan match and we were so close. The punches were not, yeah.
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 At a certain time in my fandom, I would have been crushed by that. Now, I enjoy that because now I understand. So it's
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
watch wrestling now with a whole different eye.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh,
Um,
for sure.
I enjoy much more the story than the physicality because,
Yep.
of course, the story is real, and the physicality, well, to a point. But yeah, it's
Well, it's
Terry and
like
I. We sit and watch all the time, and we wonder, oh man, was that a botch? Did he wasn't
yep,
close. See how he moves closer
right,
to
yeah.
me. I mean, yeah, we talk about stuff like that, and it's part of.
It's
I
part
don't
of the
know. It,
fun.
it it doesn't bother us. It's part of what's going on, unless it's really really bad. You
Yeah.
know, and anymore, that's only on like dark elevation that you see the really really green people, or the greenest. I won't say.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so yeah, we watch that, and it's just, and plus we've been watching the AEW biographies
Yep. Those are
shows
good.
of the WWE. I think they've all been Hall of Fame people
Mhm.
actually.
Yeah.
Uh, and there you get the breaking of the kayfabe as well, and so so it now for me it's enjoyable to watch it as a whole, and I
Yeah.
don't get sucked in quite as bad to the one-on-one story and
Oh yeah.
it's so yeah.
I like
Nobody's are bad sometimes. Yeah, newbies. Yeah, they're rough
oh
around
yeah.
the edges.
But you gotta start somewhere. That's
Yeah,
the thing.
I mean,
So
everybody did. It just turns out that the people we're watching now did it 20 years ago in
yeah.
indies where they didn't allow cameras.
Yep.
So, you know.
Where they got to
So,
learn.
Mike, I'm sorry that you were crushed, man. Give it another try.
Oh
Knowing
yeah.
that, watch it now for the stories, just like you read comic books for the stories.
Yep.
Sometimes the eye candy in the comics isn't quite what you would like, but the story grabs you.
Mhm.
Pick a wrestling promotion and see if that happens now, or pick a personality to follow and see if that happens now.
Yep. That's a good advice. All right, so like we do with every episode, we're going to jump into not every episode, but most episodes we jump into FOC.
FOC.
For this stands for, if you're new to the show, FOC is Final Order Cutoff. This is what all the comic shops use to put in their final orders. Obviously, it's in the name for the books that are coming out in a few weeks. It gives them an opportunity to adjust their numbers. It also gives customers like us an opportunity, something we may have missed in previews, or something that we were sort of on the fence about, and now we for sure want to get it, which always happens for Ed and I. So this is
Even new stuff. I mean, something that was previously canceled, or they had said uh, they had shorted some
yep,
places and they didn't know when it would be offered again. And then, oh, well, there it is. It's on this week's FOC to give you the chance to catch up from where you missed it,
yep.
whatever, 2 months ago
Well,
or
it's
whatever
like
it was.
last week when you recommended that Rat City. I forgot the full name of it, but that one book,
Mhm.
I totally missed it. Didn't even pay any attention to it. But when you talked about it, we looked at it here on the show. It looked fun, so I ordered it. So
Cool beans. Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to getting that. So these are the check with your local retailer if you are using one. Hopefully you are. If you've got one locally, if not, the online orders, FOC stuff. I'm not really sure how that works out. So, but they usually have to have their picks, their orders in by Monday.
They have to have their picks in. Yeah.
Their picks in. Yeah, I've
Once the
got.
game starts, that's it.
Yeah,
You can't,
that's it.
yeah.
So,
Which
jeez.
is coming up 2
I have
weeks.
I have got
Yes.
football on the brain.
I do too. Oh, I'm so hyped for that.
I've
Okay.
got my fantasy football selections coming up in a couple weeks. I've
Yep.
been working on that anyway. So,
Okay.
but
So
August 15th, Mondays are usually the
another
day.
podcast.
Yeah, we need to do that one. So let's get started. So
All right.
Ed, let me share the screen here like I know what I'm doing. I should just not even
Here.
say anything.
All right.
Here we go.
The first book that really caught my interest was Sock Shop. Sock. There we go, Chris. That's why you didn't pick
See,
it,
that's why I
because
didn't pick
you were
it.
going to do that.
I knew I
Yeah.
was going
So
to get tongue twisted.
Shock Shop. Shock Shop. Comes to us from Cullen Bunn and Danny Lukert. Leela, let's see. The cover artist, I believe, is Lays.
Yes.
Layla Lees.
Yeah, there's 2 covers for this. I just put the cover A up.
Right, yeah. A brand new horror anthology flip comic taking place in a haunted comic book shop with a twisted retailer filled with tales of terror sure to leave you with the lights on. I mean, come on. It's stories based in a haunted comic shop and where a comic book, but it sells itself.
Oh yeah.
Really. I mean, Cullen, has put this out there, and I'm like, hellfire. Why didn't somebody not do this, 25 years ago? What is this? A haunted comic shop.
You
So,
know when you go in, hopefully you'll follow me with this. When you go in, when you're gonna on election day, you go into the little booth, and they do have the option where they used to have like the lever or the little thing where you're like all one side or the other.
right,
Can,
yeah.
Could I have a comic shop when I want to go do my pull list? Can I just check off Cullen Bunn? Because the man writes
wrong. Yeah.
so many books every week. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
see, Doug even he
well,
said
so
it right
did
before
Hyper.
I said it. Yeah. So
And Hyper did also.
yeah.
Anything
Oh yeah.
Cullen
I'm
Bunn writes,
sorry.
I bet.
Yeah.
And Mike
It's
Myers
insane.
saying that he's the Von Eriks and the Claw. Well, you need to update a little bit there, Mike. I don't think we see the Von Eriks too much. Not on TV. They're still in some of the local circuits, though.
Yep.
Some of the great grandkids.
Jeez, yeah, they have been around
Yeah.
a while.
But Cullen Bunn, yeah, I'm starting to see that I would have to agree with both Hyper and Doug, and probably Chris. I don't specifically look for Cullen Bunn stuff, but when I see his name, I read and I'm like, oh, yep, another one. Oh, yep, here's one. Oh, I'll get that one. Yeah. So it's and actually there's some Kickstarters that I've been following of his too that he's been doing through Outland Entertainment of old Barry Blair products from back in the mid 80s.
Like I said, they had a haunted comic shop on Chips. Chips Kids was a TV show that some of us older folks may remember.
Wow.
But Elvira ran the comic shop. That's awesome.
Oh, what were the names? John and
Paunch.
Paunch, yes.
Yep. How could you forget Paunch with that name?
Sorry. Who went on to really grow to fame, starring in telenovela.
Yes, that's very
stuff.
true.
So yes, and the other man became converted to Christianity and sang.
I forget what he
Is
did.
that what
Yeah,
John did?
sounds.
Or
Who
maybe he
knows?
just released an album or something. But yeah,
But that's what everybody did back in the 70s. Is they released? I mean, even Terry Bradshaw had an album. So I
the,
mean,
Eddie
or
Murphy.
or two. Eddie
Yeah,
Murphy did. Yeah.
yeah.
So
So
it was a
Chips.
thing.
Wow, I'm Mike. Congratulations. I'm not sure how else we would have fit a Chips drop
Yes,
into the show. That
but I
that
do
that was well
appreciate it
done.
though.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you.
I'm gonna have to make note of that in the show notes. You can tell me who brought up chips and comic addiction 144.
Hey, that'd be a good
That'd
contest.
be a good way to that is exactly what we're gonna do.
Yep,
That's how we're gonna give away that book.
we still have that.
Doug's a little behind us, but yeah, he's like yelling punch in the
Punch, punch.
chat.
Yep. Thanks, Doug. And looking out for brother, man. I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
But yeah, so Shock Shop number one is definitely I
Cullen
saw
Bunn.
that
Yeah.
and I was like, yeah, that's on my list.
Yep.
That's a no brainer. All right, so my first one is Boogeyman number one. This is published from Ablaze. I will be honest, I know absolutely nothing about this book. I don't recognize the creator names or anything like that, but it was just one of those things. I read the solicitation, and I'm not going to read the whole thing to you here, but passionate about reading. Elliot was always had a preference for stories about the boogeymen, those monstrous creatures that come out at night, hide in the shadows, under the bed to frighten little children. He can't imagine how much they will change his life. So it sounds neat. If you go to Previews World and look for this first issue, it's on their FOC, obviously. They've got some preview pages of it. It looks pretty good. Try and zoom in here for everybody who's on YouTube watching us. But the art looks pretty good. But it's just, I don't know. There was just something that sort of reached out to me and said, this might be a book that you're interested in. I've been on sort of a horror thriller suspense kind of kick over the last year or so. And so, when I see a book like this, at least especially a first, not at least, but especially a first issue, by a bunch of folks I don't know who they are or recognize their names, I'm curious. So putting it on my list and check it out. I'll report back to you once the book comes out.
Fair enough. Sounds good. All right, my next pick for a couple particular reasons. Usagi Yojimbo issue number 31. Usagi Yojimbo is hands down the absolute best book being published by any company, by any artist currently, and it always will be. So that's unbiased.
Oh,
that's just
always will be. Okay, sorry, there was no.
But
you can't before or after. It's literally that's it.
But the other issue is for those that are Usagi fans, be aware. After this issue 31, this main book is going on hiatus. Stan is not doing anything for 6 months. Now, I don't know if he has anything in the can. I don't know how long it'll take to get going again. But those of you that have followed the book, it comes out about 10 times a year. It takes him about 5 to 6 weeks typically to do an issue. He's stopping to do another project. The rumor is maybe it's going to be another Space Usagi volume. He was supposed to announce something at San Diego, but I don't think he officially did. Nonetheless, after issue 31, at least a 6-month hiatus of new main volume Usagi issues. I suspect it'll stretch out more to like 8 months. So close to this time next year, we will see another regular Usagi. In the meantime, another Stan Sakai project I haven't heard or seen at this time, so I don't know what it is. Mm-hmm. So get this to tide you over. That way you can read it once a week, just like, instead of a new book and everything. So yeah, after this issue, 6-month hiatus.
We'll definitely give you time to go back and reread this series or this volume.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, only 31 issues. And
yeah,
Usagi's not necessarily an intense read. unless
Yeah.
you want to. There's a lot there if you want to learn. If you just want to read and be entertained, yeah.
Mhm.
Typically, they're easy reads, black and white. Yeah.
Yeah. Good stuff. My next one is, speaking of Cullen Bunn, is the Six
Cullen Bunn.
Gun 25th anniversary.
Everybody
Uh,
drink.
I didn't realize that it's been 25 years since Six Gun had come out. So when I saw this and I was like, it's a 9.99 bucks, $10. I'm really curious because it doesn't really say what else is in the book. It just says Oni Press's 25th anniversary edition of classic Oni titles continues with this facsimile of number one. Um, and then that's kind of it. So I might need to go and look to see what they've done with other facsimiles. Maybe they've added some stuff, who knows? I don't have no
Or
idea.
was the original a bigger book also, and the
That's
price
true.
increase reflects current
Yeah, I did think
current
about
market?
that. So this was obviously the book that a lot of us from the comic Geek Speak forums first got to know Colin Bunn's
Yeah,
work.
absolutely.
And so I probably haven't read this book. If it's 25 years, I probably haven't read it in 15, maybe 10. So I'm thinking about picking this particular issue up because I don't own these issues anymore. That collection sold long ago. So which is the thing I do. It's a thing. We'll talk about it at some point if you're new to the show. Um, so I definitely want to pick this one up, and I'm definitely gonna. It's reminding me how much I enjoyed it, so I'm probably gonna pick up the first trade again, and or not again, but pick up the first trade so I can read those issues again. So, but good stuff.
Well, cover price on the original first issue was only $3.99. So if it was
Yeah,
bigger, it
that's why I'm thinking there's something else in there.
couldn't have been much bigger. Yeah, maybe
But
some
it was 25 years ago at 3.99.
added value.
Yeah. So,
All right.
woohoo.
Let me change my tab here. My last pick, Van Helsing, Flesh of My Blood, #1 from Xenoscope. For me, I have had a personal interest in the Van Helsing character from Xenoscope for a while. This year, actually, I've been making my way through all of her books as I can acquire them, as I find them. This is the daughter of, what's his name? Abram Van Helsing,
Oh, okay.
the original
Hmm.
gonna kill Dracula dude, Van Helsing. This is his, or not daughter, I'm sorry, this is his granddaughter. Uh, but she got mixed up in some other Xenoscope demon stuff and got thrown from her time, which is much closer to the mid 1800s. I believe that's when Dracula occurred, the novel Dracula. She got shunted. Well, actually, she got shunted into a demonic realm, and when she escaped into our time. So
Oh,
she's
okay. Yeah.
displaced.
Gotcha.
Um, you can see by this she's outfitted to hunt. Her training and what she did was hunting vampires, but having brought her to current, she is involved in the Xenoscope world as just a monster hunter, not just
Hmm.
vampire. So, and this is one that incorporates a Dr. Jekyll, probably Mr. Hyde kind of concept into the story, which I don't believe is any of the creatures she's fought. She's gone after the mummy and vampires and Frankenstein and werewolves and demons and so
Yeah.
um just a fascinating. She's from the steampunky era, and that's what how she designs most of her equipment. So it works now, but she's been able to incorporate a lot of newer technology into her weaponry, making it that much more.
Yep.
Also a TV show on Netflix, but quite different. Oh yeah, the Van Helsing TV show was totally different from what
Mm,
this concept has been.
yeah.
I watched the first 2 seasons, but then I kind of lost track. So, um, Mike, if you've seen that, the end of the second season, I believe they something about everybody being out in the open in a field and a helicopter landing and taking some of her party away, but leaving her, and she woke up. I think that's about where actually Terry and I both, because she watches the TV that I do because that's only what I let her watch. And oh. I guess I shouldn't have
Is
said
she
that out
still in
loud.
the chat, or
I don't know. I'll find
is she
out,
behind
girl.
the door over there?
Yeah. And so that's as much as I remember. Belle
Yeah,
is the real Monster Hunter. Okay. Okay, fair enough. Yeah,
yeah.
I'm somewhat familiar with the Belle character. Van Helsing and Robin Hood really are the only two books that I pay any attention to at Xenoscope. I know there's a whole universe
Yeah.
of books as well. But so Van Helsing, that's just a personal kind of thing, and
Cool.
I saw it, and so I always hook up the latest volume of Van Helsing when I see it.
I really enjoyed, and it probably has no tie into it at all, but I really enjoyed the Wonderland stuff when it first started. The
Mhm.
first 2 or 3 miniseries were pretty good. I mean, I really enjoyed them a lot. It sort of they it felt like they sort of like, "Oh, this is our cash cow," and they sort of really
Mhm.
overproduced stuff after that, and so I lost a lot of interest in it and just kinda fell away from it. But those first few, and I've picked up some of the Robin Hood stuff when she first appeared,
Right.
and so I enjoyed it quite a bit. Hyper, I've fallen in love with the cover artist Jeff Spokes. Going to order. There you go.
Yep.
That's all you need.
Booby tails. And yeah, Terry, see Terry acknowledging that yes, I am the dictator. See,
I
this
have
is
the
me with
dict.
my little mustache
Oh,
here. It's yeah,
oh,
it's a tough life, but somebody has to live it. So
oh
that's
gosh, I guess
that's
so.
all I can say.
All right, so moving on.
Okay.
So my last book of
Moving right along.
FOC is Sergeant Werewolf #1. This is from Black Caravan, written by Rich Woodall and art by Rich Woodall as well. So I don't know a whole lot about Sergeant Werewolf other than there was a Kickstarter many years back he did that had Sergeant Werewolf in it as well as Savage Dragon in it. And knowing me, I'm a big Savage Dragon fan, so I backed it for the Savage Dragon part of it. But it was a really good issue. Not but like that was a bad thing. And you're right, Hyper. It looks awesome. The art in it's great. The writing's really fun. I was really into it and sort of put it bag and board, put it in the back issues, and every once in a while when I'm going through Savage Dragon, it pops up, because it's in that order. And so I flip through it or whatever. So when I saw that there was a new, I don't know if this was like a Kickstarter that now he's publishing through Black Caravan or anything like that, because I know he's done some other Kickstarters in the past. But I've sort of me and Kickstarter have not really agreed with each other in the last couple of years, so I've kind of stepped away from it for the most part. But having seen this on FOC, I was like, well, I definitely need to pick this up because I enjoyed it. So yeah, so here we go. Same did it for the drag. Yep, that's right, Mike.
Well, I mean, it doesn't necessarily sell itself quite like a haunted comic book shop, but come on. A GI on a mission that turns into a werewolf and then
Hmm.
has to complete the mission as a again, it sells itself
Yeah, I
for a
mean
comic book fan. I mean,
it
that's
is
just
a military werewolf hunting Nazis.
yeah. It's
The
you know,
Nazi occult on top of that.
I'm thinking there's an Iowa's Joe out there and a Kurt out there that will gobble this up
Love
because it's
this.
military uh, comics.
Yep.
So yeah, war comic. There we go.
Yep.
Not military.
Pretty military. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
I don't know. Words.
it's
It's they're
it's
words are
new.
tough.
Yeah, they're fun to use every once in a while.
Yeah.
So, all right. So that's our 6 picks for FOC. Again, check with your local retailer. Make sure not only do you get some of these books, it's some of the ones that you want to pick out, and there are quite a few. I mean, we can't always pick them all. So this was some good stuff. So
Yep.
all right, so let's look at next week's books. These are books coming out on August 17th. These will be our 6 picks on those. Let me pull this stuff up. So that is
Oh,
not them.
spoiler!
That was a spoiler
Spoiler!
for a book I'm going to read later.
Spoiler!
Where did I put my stuff? Is this it? Yeah, this has got to be it. No? Is this it? Yes. Did I totally get
If a
my stuff?
porn site pops up, I am gonna roll.
Like I am like,
Listen,
well, I hope that
yeah,
because
you're like, oh well, here, right there. Oh no!
that's not a thing. Wow, that would have been really awkward since I wouldn't
Oh
have pulled it
man,
up. So,
awkward.
all
I
right,
didn't put that there.
so you picked. I know I pulled up this
Well,
book
I'll go ahead and
earlier.
talk if you want me to go
Yeah,
first.
go ahead because I
Okay.
know I pulled this thing
Um,
up.
the first FOC, and this caught my eye. This is something that I have heard rumored, something that I know came out during San Diego, but I don't know that it was necessarily connected with that. But there is a manga that I have been a fan of for a very, very long time called the Kurasagi Corpse Delivery Service.
See, the link on their website is wrong. That's
Oh, it
why.
takes you to this?
Yeah,
Okay.
it takes us to this. Yeah, so I would like click here and I get
And you get
this, which
whatever
is
that
not
that is.
right.
Yeah, that is not it. Darkhorse grabbed the rights to publish it over here in the US, and they published it first as single issues, and that didn't go very well. So then they tried to recoup some of their money by publishing omnibuy. Each omnibuy had 3 of the previous takobans, which a takoban is the volume that we're used to seeing, 150, 175 pages. And for years, DC had stopped after volume 14, which they had been putting 3 volumes in an omnibus. So it also stopped their omnibus because they didn't even have one to finish what had come out because they were 1 volume short. Well, recently, whatever has occurred, I know that this has continued publication in Japan. It never stopped. Dark Horse, I don't know what issues they came up with, but they're going to be picking it up in omnibuy only, though. And the first one is this book 5 that will have volumes 13 and 14, which were published singly over here, but volume 15, which has never been published in English. Yeah, the omnibus. Yeah, yeah, you're right. I definitely might prefer the single volumes myself, but that's with just about anything, particularly manga. I like in the single volumes because you put all that in a bigger book and it
I was
just
gonna say
becomes
I'm looking at the
unwieldy.
details right now. 648 pages in this volume.
Yeah,
Holy cow!
the 3 volumes that yeah, so it's good news that they're continuing this. It's good news that we finally, those of us that have purchased the Omnibuy now get to at least complete that collection, at least in the short term, with the
Mhm.
understanding that they're going to proceed. This is in the mid to late 20s or maybe even the early 30s as far as volumes in Japan. So they have room to continue these Omnibuy if they prove um, monetarily sufficient, I guess. But whatever, I'm just glad that I'll finally be able to complete my Omnibuy collection. And then I'll
Yeah.
worry about the others if when they come out. But it's a really interesting manga. The They're a group of people, and they change from 4 to 6 to 8 people in the group, and they take care of the spirits of dead people, and they encounter all kinds of dead people who have died for a variety of reasons, and so that is the angle of the different stories, on top of the fact that I believe most of the characters in the delivery service are Buddhist. I believe Taoist. I believe they're Buddhist. And so that interjects for me, that interjects a different aspect because I'm not overly familiar with that religion. So as they do things and they uh, take certain uh, spiritual paths and um, services, and there's a word I'm looking for, but it's not coming, that are of the Buddhist tradition, gives me an opportunity to be exposed to those. Is
Mhm.
something that I've never really studied much on or anything. But usually there's 3 or 4 stories per individual volume. So this omnibus will have 10, 12, 15 different stories in it. So I
Yeah.
mean there'll be all kinds of different things. Very entertaining, even though it's a really heavy subject, death. I mean, that's all they deal with is death. It's written in a light way. There's humor interjected. It's never really overly gross or disgusting. Sometimes the method of death is, fairly realistic. We human beings can die in a variety of ways. So uh, there's some gross humor, some dark humor sometimes, but very enjoyable overall. And like I said, one of my all-time favorite manga. I'm glad that I'll finally be able to get a little bit of it back here with that
Yeah.
publication of issue 15 in English. I don't read Japanese, so I've never caught up with what they're doing over there. I always have to wait for the English translation.
I think, and I don't know what volume it was. It had to been like the first or second one, or whatever. But I remember you and I talking on a podcast or something about this book. It just all of a sudden started coming back to me.
Probably, yeah. That
Yeah.
sounds familiar.
Yeah.
One of the comic addiction on the road. No,
Yeah, one of
but
those
in
long-
that era, perhaps
Yeah,
of
yeah.
the show. Yeah,
Because I saw that cover and the cover art, I was like, "Oh, that looks really
yeah. It's very
unique."
distinctive the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like, "Okay, I've this is something I've seen on my radar." So, okay, for me, first one, I won't go too much into this. I talked a lot about this one, FOC and everything already. But the Barbaric series is back for another mini series. This is Michael Morrissey and Nathan Gooden doing this. You know, I read something this week, or maybe it was yesterday specifically, that, you know, Morrissey said that there's so much story that he's wanting to tell with this series. I'm assuming it's gonna be, you know, series and miniseries, which is great. I mean, that's the way I think is a good way to go. But he, you know, he couldn't have taken this to any other publisher to do it. Just he felt it just wouldn't, either it wouldn't have gotten approved or just, you know, whatever. But I was just excited by the idea that there's a lot more, you know, coming down the road. So that has me, you know, pretty excited about it, because it's a fun book. I mean, it's bloody, it's gruesome, but it's got, you know, that sort of dark humor and violence, and it's just a fun, like, if you're looking, and I hate saying, like, if you're looking just for a really wild barbarian series, this is it. This is a lot of fun. So Mike says, if I remember correctly, the Chips episode at the comic shop did not have John because he had left the show and was replaced by another blonde guy. Yeah. That's, you know, us blonde guys, you can just sort of intermix us and you really can't tell the difference. But I do remember that there was another guy there. Or maybe that was Dukes of Hazzard.
Season 6, episode 21, Things That Go Creep in the Night.
Oh, you pulled it up. Nice.
Yeah, that's the Elvira episode.
So what was the air date on that one? Just out of curiosity.
I don't.
Oh,
that's the YouTube.
it doesn't have the air date. Okay.
Here, let's see. Chips Wiki. Yeah, the thing about Barbaric for me is the concept of a battle axe with a, you know, roughly 18 intelligence. For those of you that play D&D.
Exactly.
So let's see. Here's the April 10, 1983. There we go.
83. Wow.
Yep. Things That Go Creep in the Night. Elvira.
I am 100% sure that I watched that episode.
Your hostess with the
when
mostess.
It was on.
Oh,
TV.
I was attached.
I don't
to the
remember
TV when Chips
it,
came on.
but I remember watching Chips. I know my parents were big fans of it. I know man. I had to been sitting
there. Or an approximation thereof.
It's close enough, yeah.
Yeah, I was even riding my motorcycle. I don't know if you can see it, because
well, you got to keep your hands low. Those bikes.
Well, but they're not in the camera. See?
Well, that's true.
Okay. All right, my next.
We're so technical when it comes to things.
Absolutely. Hey, that's why people join in, man.
Exactly.
Somebody out there is laughing. I know they are.
I'm sure.
I am making you laugh, and that's all I'm about. So. Miss Meow number 3 is my next pick. Lots of eye candy. Some story character development. Enough to keep it interesting if you're not all about eye candy. At this point in my life, I am very much about early 90s-ish eye candy. It needs to have a comeback. Rob Liefeld's feet and pouches, and you know, it's time. Everything is cyclical. It's time for this stuff to come back around. Miss Meow is kind of the edge start of that. Dynamite should do a Chips comic. They have Elvira.
Oh,
Yeah,
I was
that's true.
going to
They
come
do
back
have
to that.
Elvira.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was waiting until you get done. I was gonna come back.
Yeah, I saw it and it distracted me. To Chips. I went back. 1983. What was that? 30 years ago? Oh my
It
gosh.
was a long
No.
time ago. It was way more than that. It was like
40 years ago.
It's
Sorry.
40 years ago. Yeah.
40. I was 14, 15. Good grief. Okay.
Michael, you were 100% correct on Dynamite. I really feel like they're missing the boat on this.
On Chips.
At least have them show up in a issue of Elvira as sort of a
a
closing in
throwback.
that loop.
Yes.
Yeah, that'd be excellent.
California Highway Patrol police procedural in
Mhm.
comic book form. There you go. Somebody take that, run with it.
Run, go.
Miss Meow, mercenaries. She is a mercenary, part of a mercenary collective. As I have said before, with what was it, Death Rage?
Mhm.
There are mercenary groups in this universe that act as superhero groups, Avengers, Defenders, X Factor, what have you. Only they're mercenary groups, and they are the newsmakers and the Kardashians of this world. Miss Meow is the face of one. This is the third issue of her ongoing series. She has been captured by a rival faction, and the question is, what will they do to her?
Dun, dun, dun.
So you have to read issue 3 to find out. Lots of eye candy. Lots of eye candy.
I'm good at. So there's a thing about me. When you beat me over the head enough times with something, I'll go, maybe I should look into that. And you have talked so much about this series and
Death Rage. Yeah, they're both in the same universe.
And I'm sitting here, while you were talking, I jumped on my LCS's because they just posted the books that they've got coming out next week that'll be in stores. And I'm just scrolling through because I sworn I've seen this series. It doesn't look like they're going to have it next week. Although I can,
when you go in, see if they have one of the previous 2 issues. You don't even necessarily have to get them both, because
I know they've had at least the first or second issue.
Okay,
I know for sure they had Death Rage. I remember seeing that.
Okay, yeah,
because I was like, "There's Ed's book right there."
Yeah, that's it. And now both of these, both Death Rage and Miss Meow, came out. They kickstarted them once back in 2015, 2016, something like that.
Oh wow, it's been that long.
And I guess they didn't take off, or they didn't pursue it, or whatever happened.
Yeah.
So they're kind of trying again. These started on Kickstarter, but I don't think every issue has been. I think just that first, and then they moved to Merc Publishing. And I don't know how this fits in with that previous iteration.
Right.
I don't know if it's the same or continue. But it's just short of campy. Campy would be a good description, but that's not what they're trying to do.
Right. Yeah, Mike's confirming. Yeah, they did do Kickstarters on both of them. Yeah.
But yeah, just eye candy, fun. For me, and maybe I'm missing it, and I don't mean this as a slight, but it's just good fun reading.
Oh yeah.
Maybe they're not supposed to be. I don't know, but that's the way they strike me. So
they're like, no,
we're serious.
We're serious about this.
No offense intended.
You moron. All right, so I'll jump into some quality literature here. Last Shadowhawk #1. This is the last Shadowhawk over at Image Comics.
For now.
Apparently this is it. This is
okay.
Okay, sure. There is. I wish I had the page pulled up that showed you the gazillion variant covers.
Are they doing a bunch? Okay.
There's a lot. Like if there was like 4 or 5, I could, for nostalgia's sake, I could say I'll pick them all up.
You could chase.
Yeah, I could chase them. Yeah, I just don't want to. And then they revealed apparently there was the original cover to issue #1 of the series way back when was done by Todd McFarlane. And McFarlane had sketched out a concept of some kind and sent it over to Jim Valentino. And Valentino was like, yeah, maybe we'll go with this. And they ended up going with the one that they have. They didn't go with the McFarlane one. Well, the McFarlane one is just sort of sat in the archives. Like, I don't know where it's been sitting this whole time. It was never a completed cover by any stretch. And so a couple of weeks ago, Image had sent out a press release that they were going to use that concept, sketch cover, whatever, as a variant for the series. So I was super excited about it. And then it came out that it was going to be the 1 in 100. And I was like, well, I'm not that excited anymore.
Yeah, no doubt.
Mike says bummed Valentino did not do more, but he has said no. I totally agree, and I would love to have seen Shadowhawk go 100 issues or more.
Yeah,
I really think Valentino had something there, and really, he just for whatever his reasons are, it just didn't happen. I do really enjoy the character. It is a very 90s character for sure.
Oh yeah.
So that makes me very curious. Now, who was it? Dan Wycliffe. Wow, I always forget his last name. It starts with a W. He did a series for Image, a Shadowhawk series, maybe 10 years ago. That was decent. I don't remember a lot about it, but it did go 5-6 issues maybe. And it felt like it could have, I don't say resurrected the character, but it could have scratched that itch for a lot of us fans. And for whatever reason, it just didn't have the sales or whatever. So which was sad. But anyway, the series, ended. So since it's the 30th anniversary of Image Comics, all of those original founders, they're all putting out, their 30th editions. And so that's what this is. It's his 30th edition, although he's not doing anything with this. It's, it says here, Philip Tan, Brian Haberlin, Daniel Henriquez, and various. So various strikes again. But I'm looking forward to checking it out. And Mike's right. It is also one of the first heroes with 8. So that was a big thing.
Him
back in 92, 93 when this was out. So
did he come out with it before Chapel?
Yes, yeah, because it was like the first issue or second issue that got revealed.
Then okay.
So yeah, we didn't know about Chapel till a little bit later. It wasn't too much longer.
Yeah, not way later, but
no.
Somebody on eBay had a lot of A through H.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
for $25 and 12 shipping.
Oh, that's worth it for sure.
A B C.
That's 10 covers.
G, H. That's
no, it's 8 covers.
Eight covers for $25. But H, the H cover, that has to be a 1 in 50.
All right, I apologize, everyone.
No, if you look at that, I'll go ahead.
We're gonna look at what this is because it's right.
You want me to go ahead and talk about my next pick while you're looking?
Give me 1 second. Okay. All I gotta do is scroll down here and make everybody sick as I do it.
It's moving.
Yeah. So here we go.
Bleeding Cool said 13 covers in a May article. I don't know if it increased after that.
So H gets us to here, which is a blank or a black blank variant cover, and then G is a blank cover, and then we get a bunch of other.
I'm just wondering how they could have acquired it for less than $25 to even make a profit on it.
Well, I mean, the cover price on this thing's $4. I mean, I'm trying to think, even if you've got a 50% discount as a retailer, I mean, that's 4 times 32. I mean, you could get it, you can get it pretty cheap, but only selling it to make a $5 profit or $8 profit.
That's kind of surprising that was 3 days ago and it ended. So I don't know. Probably ended as soon as he put it up if somebody caught it. So,
but all of these other ones, the I cover, J cover, these are all sketches, black and white variants, logoless or virgin variants.
Virgin.
But then we've got the last one here, cover O, which is the 1 in 100. It's Valentino McFarlane silver foil variant, and no doubt that book's probably going to be $300 or $400.
That's 15 if it just goes that far. There's got to be store variants of that too.
God, I hope not. I hate
I'd say to expect 20 to 25 total covers when it's all said and done.
It doesn't. As much as I love Shadowhawk, it doesn't.
Oh,
It doesn't demand it.
Right.
Not by any stretch. So, all right, let's move on.
Okay, my third pick.
Oh, Green Arrow.
Back issue.
I'm excited.
Issue 137. I've been a back issue fan since it started. I'm about 25 or so issues behind in my reading. But then I only read it at night for 25, 30 minutes before I go to bed. So it takes a while to get through. But yes, this one in particular is a Green Arrow centric-ish, focused, but not completely book. All right, Mike, take it easy, man.
All right, Mike. Have a good one.
Once upon a time, I did a Green Arrow focused podcast with my youngest son, the
Yes,
Emerald
you
Archer,
did.
on
Yes.
Comic Book Noise Network. Look it up. Plug. We haven't recorded in many, many years. He's moved on to life, and I'm still sitting here podcasting. So.
He's like, "You have fun, Dad. I'm gonna go do something else."
So, for those of you that maybe are not familiar with Back Issue is a magazine that focuses predominantly on comics and creators based in the 80s. Now they will go back some, they will come forward some. So, but mainly the issues start in the 80s, and it could be talking about everything from a creator, could talk about a character and all of their appearances, could talk about concepts, movie to comics, comics to movies, the characters that comic book companies licensed characters. There we go. Just different things, but it's almost always very, very heavily, if not completely, comic book based. They don't really talk about movies. They don't really talk about TV. On some of the big characters, like I know there was a Superman focused issue that came out. They went everywhere. They went to, what is it? Is it Smallville, Illinois? Is that the name of the town in Illinois? I think right. Smallville. They did a article on that town, and they did the radio show. Somebody like Superman is so widespread, but typically it stays very, very comic book focused, very 80s focused. Best thing is it gives you a chance to see what other things creators were doing if you're not familiar with that creator, but you like them.
Mm-hmm.
And so you find out that they started back in the late 60s on San Francisco Dirty Comics. And, so a very, very, very good background study kind of magazine. I'd recommend that for any of you that are interested in research and things like that. So.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to have to pick up this issue because it's got Green Arrow, and I'm back working on my Green Arrow back issue hunting. So,
cool.
Yeah, I need to go back and get some of this 80s. They're talking about Mike Barr. I mean, that's a long time ago.
Yep.
So and I haven't even scratched the surface on that. So
Mike W. Barr. What about San Francisco Dirty
Yeah,
Comics?
see, I was gonna let that one slide because that was a very specific title that you called out. So there had to have been something you read that someone was...
Well, Hyper, I'm sorry. When you stepped out, there you say you stepped out because the wife got home. You had to take care of that. While you were gone, we had all the dirty comic sex talk then, and we've moved on to the next segment of the show. So. The
go
podcast,
back and listen.
I guess you can catch up. Yeah. So sorry, dog.
Yeah, we just got to keep this train moving there, buddy.
That's it. Got shit to talk about. Let's go.
All right. So my last thing for next week, which is a no-brainer for most of you who know me even remotely.
Kickstarter.
So I back this with Kickstarter. So mine, I've got. Okay, so this is controversial. Sure. No, it's not. Because a lot of folks do this. So I backed this on Kickstarter. I actually will be getting mine on Monday. I'm hoping it'll show up Saturday just to surprise me. Like, hey,
I haven't gotten word that mine is shipped yet. I'm kind of pissed.
Yeah, so that's the thing. When Mike Smith, buddy of the show, he had tweeted that his copy had arrived at his house like on Monday or Tuesday. I was like, I haven't even got my shipping info yet. So yeah, so I got my shipping info maybe two or 3 days ago. So yeah, so I just assumed I was at the tail end of it, but if you hadn't got yours, I would hope it's sometime soon. Um, but yeah, so next week in comic shops, uh, they're going to have both the hardcover and the trade paperback version of this. The hardcover one is, when you did Kickstarter, if you backed on Kickstarter, that's what you're getting. I think it's a different cover or whatever. Who knows?
Yeah.
Not that I care that much. I'm a huge Cyberforce fan. I'm a huge in Image Comics launch date, kind of all those original books.
92, 93.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of all that because I was there. I picked up all that stuff and just loved it. But Cyberforce was the one that was that, and Wildcats were my special ones. But which is weird because Savage Dragon is the one that I've stayed with the entire time. So either way. But yeah, so when they announced this, I haven't backed the 2 Witchblades, but I've backed everything else Top Cow has done on Kickstarter as far as hardcovers, which is The Darkness. Now they're doing Cyberforce. Matt Hawkins has said as much on Twitter that they are definitely doing a second volume of the Cyberforce to finish that out, because this goes through issue 16 and there's 35 issues in the series, plus the other annual I think they're going to put in there and some other stuff. So I'm looking forward to that whenever they launch that. So good stuff. So if you missed out on the Kickstarter, here's your opportunity to pick up this one. If you're ever curious about what happened in the pages of Cyberforce, this does include. I wish I had I didn't hang my poster up yet, but I've got it. But this does include the Wildcats Killer Instinct issues as well. So you get that whole 4-issue or 5-issue story arc. So starting Wildcats and then moved over to Cyberforce. So it's one of those early crossovers in Image. So good stuff. Super excited about it. At least when the Kickstarter gets here. But the rest of you can go out there and buy it in the shops, unless you're trying to buy it from Things from Another World, because apparently it says right here, unfortunately, this item's not available for purchase anymore.
Yep.
So, whoops.
Sold out.
Sorry about that. So good stuff. All right. So let's move on to not new, but just reviews, stuff we've been reading here lately.
Things we
and I do want to clarify, because not that anyone's asked this, but just sort of clarification. As you've noticed over the last several episodes, this is sort of, we go through FOC, which is stuff that's 4 or 5 weeks away, and then we do next week's releases. Reviews aren't necessarily books that came out this week. This is stuff that just we've been reading lately. Now, I've tried to focus on stuff that's new on the shelf just because that's what I'm reading, but it doesn't really mean anything. Ed obviously has been picking up stuff, talking about stuff that he's been getting through Kickstarter and everything, which is great. So just sort of, if you've ever been kind of curious, well, I didn't know that book came out this week. That's not the case. It's just, these are the books. We try to keep it close, but we're not being held to that. So you'll definitely notice, in this episode that we're going to be kind of all over the place. So, all right. So what you got, sir?
All right. First up from IDW, Dark Spaces Wildfire. Came out, I think, July 20th.
Yeah, it's been a couple of weeks. Yeah,
that was an appropriate date. This is coming to us from Scott Snyder. What? Who's that? Hack.
Oh, God.
Hayden. Yeah, really. Hayden Sherman is the artist. Rhonda Pattison is the colorist. And World Design with the letters. And no design information from IDW. Well, that's kind of disappointing.
Yeah.
Editorial assist, editors. IDW, come on now. Okay, so this is a story about a group of firefighters. Little uniqueness there, though, to tweak it even more. It's a group of 5 females. I believe they all identify as females from what I could tell from the first issue. And they are all currently actively imprisoned females. So kind of like this is a quasi work release situation. Now, didn't really get into too much of what their situation is outside of fighting fires. So I don't know, do they go back to the cell block? Do they go back to a halfway house? I don't know. That really didn't come up. Um, this story has been written in such a way that the opening page, let me see. Yeah, the opening page, maybe 2 pages, are now. Then the story goes back to in the past. And we are going to story up until this first page now. So we have a current situation that is described to us visually and in prose. And then the rest of the 5 issues is going to be the story of how we got to this point. And the thing about, and you kind of, there's a big, as much as a story can spoil itself, there's a big spoiler at the end of this issue that kind of answers a question about that very first panel. And it says, one of the prose blurbs that correspond with the picture, and you can envision the picture from these words. In the living room, 5 people lie dead, all murdered. Okay. So
Oh,
that tells you that. And then at the end of this first issue, we find out basically who those 5 people are. So then it's like, well, kind of in a disappointing manner, but not overly. It's like, well, we know who. And so all that's left is why.
mhm.
And so that's what the remainder of the story is going to be, is the why, because you're pretty much told after the first issue the who. And that's all I'm going to say, because you need to go out and get it and read it, because it's really cool. It's a really interesting perspective. Female, con, firefighter. I mean, these are
Yeah.
the female. Of course, we're getting more and more in comic books all the time. The con female, we don't get all that often. And I personally have never read a comic book involving, and well, I take that back, involving an active wildfire
Right.
firefighter. Now, I
Yeah.
do know another firefighter comic book comes to mind automatically, because Chris and I talk about this in this company frequently.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So just by happenstance, we happen to know of another firefighter comic, but those two, that and this, those are the only books I can think of.
Yeah.
So firefighting is not a commonly used trope in comic books. I mean, it's so unused that you can't even really call it a trope.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Because it's not. So
It's like a once in a while.
yeah, really, it's a, well, nobody's used this in a while.
No, but yeah, exactly. Hey, what's that thing? Oh,
But
firefighter.
and
Let's do
and
that.
these kind of and I use these terms knowing what I'm saying, but it's a very street level kind of concept, and that
Yeah.
is something that Scott Snyder has proven to be uh, particularly fluent or
Yeah.
fluid in writing. So
Yeah.
this, I have every expectation that by the time all 5 issues are out, uh, excellent read.
Mhm.
Probably even maybe would benefit from waiting until the trade comes out and being able to sit down and read the whole story at one time, instead of now, like me, having to wait a month ish, although not, because I just read it today, until the next issue. So,
Yeah. I am kind of curious. I mean, this is part of his deal with um Amazon or Comixology. These are his um
oh, was this a
yeah,
Comixology first?
this is one of his
Okay.
Comixology originals that
Okay.
IDW. So much like with what is it? What was the other one? We the monsters one that he and Capullo did.
Yes. Okay.
So those are part of that Comixology deal, and so IDW is going to be publishing the physical copies of those. So if you have an Amazon Prime account, you
Oh.
could read these issues for free. So I read the
Oh.
first issue to the other series and had decided not because I'm anti-digital or anything like that. Because I mean, it would be free if I would just read it that way. Because
Right.
we have the Amazon account here. Um, but it was one of those things where I just wanted to wait and read it in physical, so I could just kind of flip through it. This particular series, this first issue, my local shop just didn't order enough copies, I guess, and so I didn't get a copy of it. I didn't pre-order it, so that was my bad. But I did see it at a shop last night that I was at and passed on it because I was sort of in a rush. But they're having a sale this weekend, so
Oh, there we
Chris
go.
will be wandering down there to pick it up.
So,
So
so just to address Hyper here with the first Patty Duke, and now Emergency.
oh wow, I
We
totally
we
miss
we are deep diving here. This is, yeah.
it.
Me and Mr. Peabody are on our Wayback Machine with that
Oh
one.
man.
Yep. Doug,
And
yeah,
yeah.
Snyder, I think not having the, as much as they were, constraints of a big time character,
Mhm.
more able to do just whatever he wants.
Yeah.
I find it a lot more entertaining than perhaps his
Yeah.
previous constrained universe kind of work. Not that that was bad, but it just, I felt several times that he would write up to that wall and he
Yeah.
just couldn't do something. I felt sometimes, and
Yeah.
so yeah, a lot of his indie or his non big stuff, very very much more entertaining for me personally.
Yeah. And I know the latest book that he's got out is with Dan Panosian, Canary, which is a Western. And
Hmm.
so that's on Comixology now. But I'm fighting the urge to go and read it.
On Amazon.
I'm gonna wait. For me to read it's more of a hassle to read it on Amazon Prime or Comixology. So I just sort of like, I'll just whatever. But yeah, so I am looking forward to checking out this book. So I'm glad that you're able to talk about it. So so my next book, and I'm trying to figure out, yeah, there we go. Deadly Bouquet. It's the first issue from Image Comics. So this is sort of the previews or the solicitation gave me sort of reminiscent of The Kitchen. If you remember that Vertigo series, it was a mobster type book where the wives of these particular mobsters decided to sort of take it upon themselves to, because their husbands got put in jail or something like that. I forget exactly what happened to the husbands, but the wives decided to, well, we're just going to go out on our own. We're going to be our own thing, and so they sort of built up their own little criminal empire. They actually had a movie for it that um, uh, Melissa McCarthy was in with oh gosh, I can't remember everybody who was in it. But yeah, it wasn't great, but I did go see it in the theater just because it was curious, and my wife wanted to go see it too. So I'm not going to pass an opportunity to go see a movie with the wife. So, but this new series sort of gave me a little bit of those vibes when I was reading the solicitation. So I was like, okay, when that comes out, I'll be sure to check it out. Um, so this particular series, written by Erica Schultz, art by Carola Borelli, colors by Gab
Contreras.
Contreras. Thank you. Edits by James Emmett. Again, much like Dark or IDW, no designer listed. So, but then there's multiple variant covers and stuff like that, like always. So the concept behind this issue is that all we know is that there's a mother who was killed at her flower shop. Her One of her daughters, she has three daughters. They're all flower names. So there's Rose, Violet, and Poppy. And then the mother's name is something, another flower name, and I forget what that is. But so her from what I'm getting from the stories, that the mother was tied into the criminal world of some kind. She was a badass, whatever it was. She was a badass, and people should be afraid of her. Um, and so apparently, her husband, when the kids were smaller, was very physically abusive toward her. She was not going to have it anymore. She had sort of had it as long as she was going to take, and pushed him down a flight of stairs and killed him. And she and the young girls who were crying at the time buried his body out in the backyard. So that sort of messed up the girls, which, obviously, but the mother sort of taught them all to sort of how to take care of themselves. Nothing like, there was no montage of like, learning our skills and how to fight. It wasn't very comical or anything like that, but it was just like, she definitely taught them how to take care of themselves. And so now they're older. So this has taken place in the late 90s. I think it's 1998. And so so the book opens with the mom being killed, and one of her daughters, who was supposed to take care of her because the mom was slipping into dementia, and there was something else. I think cancer was another issue, and so she was the one left taking care of her. The two other sisters, one moved away and got married and had kids. The other one was more of a partier, free spirit, so she just kind of left and just traveled the world and whatever. So she ends up calling them, bringing them back, explaining that the mom's dead. The immediate reaction to the sisters had to Rose, who was calling them, was like, you know, did you take care of them? Like, whoever did this. And she's like, no, I'm letting the cops do it.
Ah,
So it's kind of like,
oh,
so this issue,
okay.
so there's a lot of a majority of this issue is that. I mean, the murder happens obviously before the issue opens, and then it's a lot of the sisters coming together at the crime scene with interaction with the cops. You kind of get introduced to the different personalities that the sisters have, and they're very distinct. And so by the end of the issue, it's kind of like, you know, we're gonna let the cops do their thing, but at the same time, we're gonna be right behind them and doing our own thing too. So it's gonna be kind of interesting. I don't know. Violet is the only one that sort of they make out like she's still doing what she needs to do. Like, she's still the tough one, and wherever she's had to go. And the other two have sort of settled down in sort of urban life, suburban life, I should say. And that's kind of their thing now. So, but apparently when push comes to shove, the brass knuckles and the knives and the guns come out. So it does have a very sort of modern day mobster kind of feel to it. So I'm definitely interested in this. It's the artwork in it's great. The artwork's a little misleading because it feels very not very cartoony, but it does sort of have the very the line work is very neat and tight, and so it sort of lends itself to the coloring to provide a lot of the depth of the artwork. So it definitely doesn't, if you just kind of flip through it and didn't read anything, you'd be more like, this seems a little not as gritty as it should be. But the writing of it, very gritty, very sort of in your face, knives being thrown behind people's backs and hitting the wall right next to them, like, hey, pay attention to me, kind of thing. So but great, great first issue. I'm looking forward to the second issue, and so hopefully it continues to be to kind of go the way it's going and keeps up. So I'm definitely looking forward to the next issue.
Cool beans.
So what is this next one you've got here?
Next one, Sergeant Flag. Yes, Sergeant Flag. Chris has got it up on the big screen.
Yep.
On the big screen. Kickstarter from G-Man Comics. There were, in this pack that I got, there were like 5 or 6 first issues as part of the offering for one in particular. Awesome looking cover. Unfortunately, the artwork in the book does not follow that cover. Has a very Liefeldian August of 1992 kind of feel to it. Or, if you will, I don't know, Cable of 1991. So this comes to us by Rick Offenberger. There's 2 stories in this. Offenberger is involved with both. The second story, he has a co-writer, Greg Whitmore. In the first story, the art is by Gilbert Monsanto, letters by Eric Bennett. In the second story, the pencils are by Bobby Raglan with inks by Luis Rivera, colors by Greg Whitmore, and letters by Eric Bennett again. The first story, there are 2 elements of the story. One is a back in the day story, and the artwork is completely different to be by the same guy, which is kind of interesting. And I think, although everything is done by the same person, pencils, inks, if there are inks, colors, for both aspects of the story, but they are completely different. I don't know how well the rest of you will be able to see this, but Chris, you'll be able to see. This is one aspect of the story here. Okay, this is the back in the day element, but then we switch to the modern day element. If you see, that's just a very they're right here. They're side by side. See, this is a lot more open.
Definitely.
And this is a lot tighter pencils, although everything says that they're the same creator. So it was kind of interesting. But he is a former military man who became good at his job, good enough that our government pulled him from his military endeavor and said, hey, you can go ahead and finish your enlistment. That's cool, but you're going to finish it over here running missions of a particular variety because you have acquired a particular set of skills, to quote a famous movie line. And he is good enough that he becomes kind of a backup to superheroes, even though he has no paranormal, supernormal abilities. He's just dude. He's not even Captain America dude. He's more like a Batman dude. He's just dude. And military logistics and tactics, military weapons, all highest grade, but that's all he has to work with. So he starts running more pointed missions rather than just working for the military to do wet work and black ops and things like that. And then that's just the first story is just a story about his first mission running the more targeted it's for the FBI, which I don't know that the FBI would really be allowed to do this, but it's a comic book, so you can pretend however you want to.
Exactly.
So and then the second mission is the first mission, he goes to pull someone out that has been kidnapped that is of interest. The second mission, he goes to pull out another undercover person that has been exposed, but not to their knowledge. So the second mission, he gets a little bit of pushback, a little bit of grief from that other undercover agent because, well, now everybody knows and you've blown my cover. And no, your cover was blown to begin with, so it's, and to add to that, the agent he goes to rescue is a female and he is a male. So there's that element of, the man coming. You don't have to come and rescue me.
Right. Yeah.
So now, the biggest issue that I had is this was perfectly in my wheelhouse when I was 15 years old. As a 54-year-old man, the quippiness and it just was very sophomoric in its
Hmm.
entire style of writing. As far as things people say and the way they act, the story basis, I had no problems with.
Right.
I could get next to that it's a concept that has been used and it works just fine. But it was just written, and I don't remember that about the company when I read and funded paid into the Kickstarter. I don't remember it necessarily being targeted for kids. Actually, there's several elements that are pretty violent in here, so I really don't think it is. But yet, the talking and the jibing between characters just seems so middle schoolish to me. I was
Mhm.
just like, oh man, and it's nonstop. It's the whole story.
Oh.
It's not just one scene. It's just
Yeah.
it's the character of that character that's how he is. And I was like, um, further Kickstarters actually are in jeopardy. I don't know if they, you know, ping me again with the next issue or whatever, if I'll necessarily follow up on Sergeant Flag.
Yeah.
Turned out to not be, turned out to not be my deal too much. Wasn't there a Liefeld cover offered on that? Well, this cover says Monsanto, so this one that Chris has up here is not him. I don't remember there being a Liefeld cover, but there could be.
Well,
I'm
and
I'm not. Let's see.
maybe it's the
Oh no,
style that
no,
he's.
there is one here.
Oh,
Yeah,
is there? Oh, hold on.
yeah. If you can see this, let's
Yep.
see.
Zoom that in now.
Right there, that one right there says Liefeld.
Oh, yeah, there it is.
Liefeld. There's a Gustovich cover, which was Mike Gustovich was Justice Machine back in the day.
Yep.
Gilbert Monsanto, Butler Monsanto, and Stephen Butler. Stephen Butler, I recognize his name from somewhere too, but I'm not sure. So yeah, who asked that? Hyper? Yeah, there was a Rob Liefeld cover for that. So did
I
you
thought
get
it was
this
just
too?
trying to be funny. That's where
Uh,
I was like, oh, he's being funny.
yeah.
No, there actually
Hyper,
was one.
is this one that you followed? And if it is, if you've read this, what did you think about that quippy kind of writing? If you read that, so there we go.
It's just for the kids. It's not.
But I would think that, but it was just there were several panels that were just very bloody and violent because
Right. Yeah.
it's military and guns and explosions and things.
Mhm.
So there's opportunity to do that, which they did on occasion. But uh, it, if you didn't know better, this character, and there's absolutely no reason to believe that, was like a 14 or 15-year-old running around doing it. I mean, that's how
Right.
he was speaking and behaving. So, yeah, I got mine last weekend and
Yep.
broke into them. There were like 5 or 6 books. There was a Ohatmu style thicker square bound book that came with it and everything. So
I hope I
you
got.
didn't even open your bundle yet.
Oh
Hyper.
no.
Well, no, I take that back. I understand. You're spending time reading Charlton's Emergency comics,
Yes.
all 4 issues. Yeah, I got you. You got to
You
prioritize these things.
got a list there, folks.
There's a stack, and it's So
All right. Moving on to my next book. This one actually did come out this week. It's Dynamite's 007 #1. So, this, depending on how you want to do it, I'm sure there's copyrights and trademarks and stuff like that. So this is either 007 #1 or this is Ian Fleming's James Bond 007 #1.
Well, what does the
Either way.
indicia say?
Oh, it's a good call. Good call. The indicia says James Bond 007 #1.
There you go.
So
That's how I would put it in my file box.
So Charlton had emergency comics and
And
magazines.
magazines, yes. Both of them
Ah.
4 issues. Yes, absolutely right.
So I'm a casual 007 fan. I don't claim to be the know-it-all or anything like that. I was going to choke and die there, but I'm okay. I didn't take the cyanide pill. I promise. There's no spies involved in this. But
Wow, that just went dark,
oh,
man. It good.
so sorry
grief.
about that. So but I do. I mean, growing up, I was a big fan of the novels. I read a lot of the novels, and watched a lot of the, you know, Roger Moore movies and Sean Connery movies, and so I grew up on James Bond.
Sean Connery's the only James
There was
Bond.
well, it's true, but like I've never seen any of the Daniel Craig movies, and I know for some people
Wow,
that's
really?
blasphemous,
Wow.
but it's just not a thing I've watched yet, and it's no reason other. I hadn't done it
Haven't
yet.
watched
I
it.
have. There have been many conversations. Every time a new movie came out, there were many conversations about, oh, I need to get caught up, and that's all it would be. So the
A
intense thing,
conversation.
a conversation. So, but Dynamite has had the license for James Bond for quite some time
For a
now,
while.
and so I've picked up a majority of their books. I haven't picked them all up, but I've picked a majority of them up, and I don't think I picked up the last one that they had. So when this one came out, I was like, all right, I need to get back on board. And so when I saw this, I was like, all right, cool, we'll get into this. I think I even talked about it either on FOC or something like that. The writer for this series is Philip Kennedy Johnson. Artist is Marco Finnegan. Colors by Deborah Kelly. Letters by Jeff Eckleberry. And then Nathan Cosby is the packer and editor. I'm not sure what packer means, but he's also the editor on this.
Means he lives in Green Bay
Maybe.
and takes
It says,
ayahuasca.
no, it says packager. So I'm like, okay, sure. I don't know what that means. I may have to ask.
They
him.
only have one. That's it for the whole
Maybe.
company, and it's him. Yeah.
Just he is. I do follow Nathan on Twitter. I have for years, and he is every so often there'll be this sort of call out for artists of some kind. It's like, hey, I need somebody who can do some sequential pages, or somebody who can do this, or covers, or something like that. And so it's always interesting to see the response, because usually folks or artists are like, here's a sample of my work, or here's a link to my website. So it's always interesting when he makes that call out, and then you sort of look at the comments. You get to see some fascinating artists that you may have never heard of before, who don't have any mainstream work or anything like that, but can really put in the work.
Linking to their DeviantArt page.
Yes.
Yes.
That was a thing of the day.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's how Marco Finnegan got involved in this. I don't know off the top of my head any of his previous work, but that doesn't mean definitely doesn't mean that he doesn't have it. Just Chris is lazy and didn't want to look it up. So this particular issue is the introduction of a new, I guess, spy organization, or at least a new organization within the network of everything that is James Bond. They are, you don't really know that from this first issue. You do know that there's a group of independent people who are looking and hunting James Bond down. They know him by his name. So he, he's on an op and has two different groups that are coming at him. One of them is very bumbling, it seems like, and the other one is very focused. Do they work together? They know each other, at least, is what we find out. But whether or not they're on the same side, same organization, we don't know yet. But the solicitation does tell us that they are part of a new group. And so this issue is sort of that is getting some introductions taken care of. We get introduced to someone from James's past who knows a little bit about about this organization. Apparently, again, sort of trying to follow the threads because they're trying to be subtle in the first issue, but I'm sort of making that second issue leap that we'll find out. And so the mission at the beginning of the issue goes wrong. He is working with another operative, or at least an asset, who ends up getting killed, and the government needs somebody to blame, and so they're going to point the finger at James, or the 007 agent, and say that was his fault. And everybody knows that it wasn't, but that's just how things were falling into place. And so M sort of says, take one for the team, and so James goes on vacation, taking time off or whatever, while this blows over. And so that's kind of where we're sort of left with James, and he gets a letter from this old friend, and there's becomes a sort of time jumping that is not clearly stated. You kind of realize it a couple of panels into it, but there's no clear divide from modern. I mean, it's even happens on the same page, and so it was a little jarring at times. Not that I need someone to hold my hand at time jumps and stuff, but it's very obvious that that once you look back, there were no clear cuts. It's just there was no change in coloring, there was no change in tone, nothing. There wasn't even a flashback. It wasn't anything to that effect. It was just kind of like, oh yeah, this is James Bond being introduced as the new 007, and and sort of recognizing that there were previous 007s before him, and and so learning how he gets trained and all. So it's like, oh well, this is definitely a flashback because we know that what's going on in the modern time. So either way, other than that, everything was fine. I thought it was a pretty good issue, pretty well entertaining. Art in it's pretty good. It's not my favorite, but it's still good. It still does the job, does the service. It doesn't, the cover, the pages are not ugly by any stretch. Just not my favorite art style and anything, but that's a personal preference. So, but like I said, it does the job. So it's it's one of those things. James is trying to, is he being tricked? Is he being bamboozled? Is he trying to be tricked into getting into this new organization? Because that's kind of what it seems like, or not. So we'll see where we go from there. But this cover is amazing. I mean, the one I have up on the screen is just one of like 20 covers that this issue had. I do really love and I really can't pull them up to show you a good image. They do, like I said, I used to read the novels and stuff like that when I was younger. And so a lot of, they've got some homage covers and stuff like that done in sort of that novella cover style. And if they weren't the expensive covers to get, those would easily be the books the covers I would pick up. They have a nice art style to them.
This one is Tommy Lee Edwards, right?
It looks like it. Yeah, it is. Yeah, because he's signed. Yeah, I see his signature down there. But yeah, so yeah, he's awesome. So, but yeah, and I really do dig this cover though. The asset that gets killed in this issue does not look like that. Maybe he does. There is a mustache on this guy. So either way, good issue. If you're curious about Dynamite's run on 007 or on all these series, I definitely would suggest picking up this first issue and giving it a shot. So good stuff.
All right. My next pick is, you've got a different cover.
Oh, and I didn't know what, like, you didn't send me a cover for this.
I didn't?
No, you sent me one for the other one.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
So I don't know if this one's correct.
Actually, that might be. Oh, that's a mini, that's like an ash can.
Oh, okay, I gotcha.
Here is the cover.
Here, let me zoom in on that one.
That's Lynx.
Yep.
Both of them. One name, Lynx. Kind of like Madonna. No, it's the exact opposite of that. Like
Nice.
Prince. No, well, actually, no. They're both Lynx. They're a married couple. One is a former Army Ranger, and the other is a kindergarten teacher.
Oh, I can see how this will work out.
Sure, that and so you become a superhero-esque operative with you can see it here with like Wolverine claws
Yep.
there. Oh, I see what they're playing at, and he only has one. Cause see over here, they're saying
Yep.
yeah,
Don't want to copyright.
one, yeah. So they work in tandem, although let's see, were there 2 stories? Yeah, there were 2 stories in this issue also. Creatives. Let's see here. We have Rick Offenberger is the writer. Milton Estevam is the artist. Teo Pinero is the colorist. Eric Bennett letters. And Jim Burrows is the production editor. I try not to get into editors. I'm not a big fan of editors, but I understand why they're there. And the second story is, pardon me, guys, this makes for great video. The audio, you can never tell because Chris can just cut it, but he won't cut me because I'm talking.
Nope, because it's
kind
fun.
Kind of like Robin Williams would move something on the stage so that people would know if they cut part of his act. Did you ever see him do that?
Yeah, I did.
And he would say that's why he's doing it. He would do it slowly, moving while he was talking, and he would tell you why he was doing it. And the second story, Rick Offenberger, Joshua 19 Holly. I don't understand that. Letters by Francisco Zamora. And so it's the second story is in a much kiddier, almost Chibli kind of art style, but it's bloodier than the first.
Oh, wow.
What have we got here? Will you be pre-ordering New York Ninja from Floating World? I'm very interested in it. New York Ninja. That sounds
I'm
familiar.
pulling it up. New York Ninja one shot from Golden Apple. They've got it up. Here, this one. Is this what you're talking about?
That looks familiar. I don't believe I ordered it, but I do remember seeing that. 1984. Crime is at an all-time high. Jason Liu. The villainous Rat Tail. Good villain name.
Nice. Yeah.
And he has radioactive powers.
Nope, that's it. Yeah, that's what he's talking about.
Yeah, I don't think I ordered it, but it may be something that I go back and grab because that whole samurai ninja-y 70s kung fu-y kind of thing is always something that I kind of gravitate to if I don't get everything like that. But yeah, it's definitely something that catches my interest.
Yep.
Up for pre-order now. Oh, okay. Well, I may add it to my Westfield Comics.
There you go.
I don't use DCB service. I ran out of Vaseline, so I changed companies.
Oh, ow. Well,
yeah.
More.
Well, that's the truth. So we find that the 2 of them are out working together, Lynx, or Mateo and Maya, as we shall call them. And after this particular mission, they're fighting a bunch of people wearing clown outfits. And there's a comment here that put me in mind of a competition. What is it they say? A
distinguished competition?
Distinguished competition, yeah. I don't even understand why someone would dress up as a clown to commit crime. That's something. Yeah, I'm thinking there's maybe a little dig there. But they finish up. They go home. He gets called out on a mission that they only need 1, and she, in the interim, gets embroiled in one without necessarily meaning to. We don't really know what he encounters, but she encounters an Egyptian, dare I say, goddess. I'm not sure that that's what it is, and she is speaking in Sanskrit, Can you see that there?
Oh yeah.
Or not Sanskrit, cuneiform. She's speaking in cuneiform. That way we know she's Egyptian. That's how you can tell, because they speak in cuneiform. So,
Okay.
in a museum, somebody is stealing artifacts that involve this entity, this woman. I think she was intended to have been a mummy that they were also messing with, and she kind of broke free. That's not necessarily clearly done, but I think you can kind of infer that that's what happened. And it is the female Lynx, Maya, that is involved in this. So we've got another female heavy story again, which is something not too long ago you didn't have that often. Resolution basically is that they start to fight, but then they realize, well, that they're not at odds. It's the gangsters that are trying to steal all of her stuff that Lynx needs to do something with. So the two women team up against the gangsters and defeat them. Ultimately, everything works out. The Egyptian woman, well, she explains what she's going to do, because nobody knows how to like transport her back to her time or what, so she's here now, she's got to do something. So she decides to do something pretty cool with her existence in the museum and everything like that. The second story involves the death of Terror Noir, Noir, Terror Noir. And not to be too pointed, but he's darkly skinned, being called Terror Noir. So, and not the most original. As far as the writing on this was a little bit more sophisticated. So it didn't quite have the junior high-ish feel that the other book did. This second story, like I said, it's almost in a Chibli. Is that how you say it? Chibli kind of style? Yeah. Some cool, interesting characters that they don't use, but I wish they would. One is named Murder Hornet, which is very on point. Yeah. Dark Warrior, who is another gentleman of darker skin tone, I believe. And Tiger Strike, who appears to be a werewolf-esque, lycanthropic kind of character. But Terror Noir dies in the course of this particular mission, and his son decides to take his place. And his son is going to go by the name Kid Terror. And he very much looks like the Terror from the Golden Age.
Yes, that's the Black Terror. Yeah,
uniform and everything. Yeah, so
that's exactly what that is.
I was like, oh, I wonder if that's.
I mean, it's public domain.
Yeah, so. I guess it is public, so you can use that uniform. That's fine. And he's going to have a person overseeing him also, so it kind of not quite a buddy cop, but more a sensei student kind of thing here. It looks like they're going to do when they start writing about the Kid Terror, but entertaining. I like that in both of these books there were two stories. Hyper, again, man, when you break into these and read them, let me know. There were in my pack there were like 4 other, I think, number ones, and then like I said, that Ohatmu kind of handbook kind of book.
Cool.
So it'll be interesting to see that'll be cool to give a nice broad rounding to the universe that they're trying to create. I'll be interested to see if Offenberger writes everything or not, because I can't necessarily say that I'm the biggest fan of his writing. So see if he, if it's his universe, then yeah, chances are he's writing them all. But that also means it'll slow down how often books come out of the different characters if it's only one writer. So entertaining. Like I said about Sergeant Flag, I don't know necessarily that I'll keep an eyeball out for any further Kickstarters of his. But now the Lynx, it was interesting, and the cover that Chris showed, I also have that book. It's like an ash can that details, I believe, the origin of the male member of Lynx. That would be Mateo Martinez, ex-military. So
cool. Now, did you get this
Entertained.
straight from G-Man's site, or did you get that from Kickstarter?
no, it was their Kickstarter
Okay. All right.
that they kickstarted. Actually, they kickstarted one of the other books. Neither one of these was actually what the Kickstarter was for. This was just added value.
Right. Well, that's cool.
So
you take your chances with that kind of stuff. So that's why I was kind of wondering, was it just like a grab bag kind of thing, or was it? But if that was just the extra stuff,
I think it was a particular level, and probably what drew me to it is the fact that it was the first issue of these different series.
Right.
Again, to give you or to give me a better idea of the universe that they're trying to make, instead of just the $8 for the one book.
Right. Yeah.
No, and the handbook. Cool. It was a level that had the handbook. I'm always a sucker for those kind of things. Cut my teeth on Ohatmu, and every time I see stuff like that, I don't know what other levels, but I'll get that book at least, because you get the characters and settings, and you get a good overview of the universe that way.
Yep, that's good stuff. All right, so my last book came out a couple weeks ago, or a week ago. Sacrament #1. This is an AWA upshot. I don't know if that's the name of the publisher. I thought the publisher was just AWA, but
no, it's AWA Kickstart, AWA Upshot.
Okay, cool. So that's the cover A. I ended up picking up the Mike Deodato cover B, because Deodato. So I can't. Funny enough, as much as I was really interested in AWA when it first launched, or first it got announced, I've never picked up a book of theirs. So not that I meant to pick up this. I was talking to a guy working at Capital Comics, which is one of my LCSs, and he ordered a copy of it, saw it previews, thought it was great, or cool, ordered it, got a copy of it. He did the let me share this on the store's Instagram page, and everybody was like, "Oh, that looks awesome! Put a copy away from me too." And they just didn't order enough, So when I got to the shop, they were gone. So I was like, "Oh, maybe I'll try it out. I'll find it somewhere." So luckily, I found it when I was at Ultimate Comics last night. Found a copy of it, which seems to be a thing. It's a trend that I feel it's forming here. So this is a new series. Let me find the credits. It's Peter Milligan is the writer on it. I'm still looking for I don't even know if they even had oh, there it is. The big double page spread is where all the credits are. Peter Milligan is the writer. Marcelo Fruzen is the artist. Sal Kiparano is the letterer, and then there's quite a few variants: Mike Deodato, Lee Luridge, Mike Choi, and then Chris Ferguson as logo and design. So there's your designer finally. So this particular series, or this issue, is apparently, this is in the year 2999. So the Earth is no longer inhabitable. Everybody has gone off to space. They've established all of these colonies over all of these planets and everything. Religion is outlawed, or the Catholic religion is outlawed. At least it seems that way. Some planets don't have religion, or they say they don't have religion. So if you're found speaking of any kind of religion, and this is primarily focused on the Catholic religion. So, are they specific to the Catholic faith, or are they talking about just religion in general? I don't know, because I didn't really go into it. So if you're found out to be preaching or talking about it, you get sent to penal colonies, and just no questions asked. And so this particular issue opens up with a priest who apparently at some point made a name for himself because he was with a more experienced priest during an exorcism. It was a pretty well-known exorcism, but he apparently has very little recollection of the actual exorcist. And so he's like, "Yeah, I was there, but I don't." He says it multiple times in this issue when he's asked about it by different people. He's like, "I just don't remember anything. I don't remember what happened," and I'm sure that's going to come back and play into the story at some point.
The demon's in him now.
Right. Yeah. You're kind of wondering if that's the case. So he does say that he is sort of like he just it's not that he's giving up on the faith. He's just exhausted because he's always on the run. But all of these colonies need him. And so because he has this reputation of being an exorcist, people, when they think that someone has possession of some kind, they call him up or call his church, and they're like, "Oh, we'll send, I forget what his name is, but we'll send him there." And he at this point has a younger study student under him now, and she is just enthralled by him, as far as like very respectful toward him, very like, he is, she takes whatever that pedestal is that everyone else has put him on. He's not put himself on it, but they've put him on it. And she is very, it's not really, worshiping at his feet or anything, but she's very respectful of him and really thinks highly of him. But he is very beaten down and very discouraged. And he is known by two things, I think they say in this issue, because there's a colony that needs his help, and they're hunting him down to bring him to the colony, but they're also not very well. They're very feared, a feared group, and so they're they're very much dressed in Nazi-esque uniforms. It's very, but they don't say anything like that. But they definitely need him. But there's a scene in here where they're like, "Oh my God, it's the magistrates or whatever. They're coming." And so they disperse because he was doing a sermon. They disperse everything, and he's just like, I just want to get caught at this point. Just send me to a penal colony. I can just die, and just
Wow.
I mean, that's where he is at this point.
Yeah,
And he
tired.
doesn't seem like he's a very old guy, but I mean, he's definitely been beaten down. But and I wish I could find it because it's hilarious. Because these two guys are just discussing him, and they're like, "Are you sure that it's him?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, it's him because, oh, let me see where it is. Um, oh, here it is. Okay. 'Cause it said, yeah, my spies informed me that this Vass is the name of the priest, is a pitiful kind of priest addicted to transub, which is a instead of giving wine and bread when they do the Lord's Supper, they do this sort of digital thing because there's a god, they call it there's something they figured out, there's something in your brain that they can feed a certain transmission to it, and you sort of get this euphoric feeling. And so he's addicted to that. So he gives himself that all the time to make himself basically feel numb. And so they say addicted to transub and an incorrigible better of women. So
There we go.
yeah, so there you go. So
there you go, Hyper. There's your sex.
Yeah, there it is. So there's a moment in here. There is no sexy time in this book by any stretch, but there is a. He's giving the Lord's Supper to some folks at this sermon at this meeting place, and one of the women walks up, and she's just coming for the sacraments, and he's like, I really think I've met her before. And so there's a scene where the two of them are in bed together, and he's just like, I wonder if that, And so apparently he has slept with so many women, he's just not entirely sure who it is. And keep in mind, he goes from planet to planet to planet. So there's a lot of people. Anyway, so I say all that more to give you the character, what his character's like. But these magistrates or whatever, they finally capture him. He's thinking he's going to a penal colony. He ends up at their colony, which is not, it's a very well-to-do colony, and he's kind of like, what the frick am I doing here? And they're saying, well, we have a situation here, which they've alluded to earlier in the issue, that something was going on. They found someone crucified upside down, and murdered and crucified upside down, and then they found a lot of upside down crosses painted in blood on various settlements and buildings and stuff. And they're like, well, either someone's really like sick in the head, we may have some sort of satanic priest or something here. So while we don't have religion here, something is going on here, and we need someone who can figure it out. And so they assume this guy can do it, so they brought him here. I had read something that or like the elevator pitch for this was, imagine if an entire planet was possessed by the devil or something to that effect.
Wow. Okay.
Or imagine if you had to exorcise an entire planet. Maybe that's what I read. But either way, same thing. So it's very it's a super sci-fi kind of thing. It's got religion in it. Maybe there's got Nazis in it, space Nazis. I'm not entirely sure. They at least are wanting to give you that vibe. It is Marcelo Frusian's art is very dark and gritty. It reminds me a lot of Mike Diodato's art on it, because I had to like take a moment and actually look at the credits. I was like, is this not a Diodato book? So I really enjoy the art and everything. It's very dark. The concept's kind of nuts, but it's got sort of a weird mixture of things that I don't normally read. And like I said, I'm kind of been over the last year or so into sort of these kind of horror sci-fi kind of books and stuff like that. So it's a 5-issue miniseries, so I'm gonna check out at least the next issue and see if it hooks me like this one did, and we'll just kind of go from there. At some point there's gonna be a breaking point where, like, regardless, I just feel like I'm gonna have to keep reading the whole series until I get to the end. But if the second issue doesn't catch me, then I'll probably stop there. But if it does, I may end up picking up the rest of the series. But yeah, so it's a good thing. And then there's some, for me alone, there's some previews of some other books and stuff that the AWA's got, that again I was excited about it when it got announced, but just they've been out for a couple of years at this point, and I just haven't really paid any attention to their books. So I may pick up a few other new series that are getting ready to start, just to get some more exposure, see the kind of creative talent that they've got going on there. I do like Peter Milligan, so I was glad to see his name on here. So we'll see. So good stuff.
Yeah, I remember when they first broke in previews. I got probably the first 3 issues of their first set.
And didn't they do like Resistance, like the
Straczynski was he still is involved. Yeah,
okay.
There was a horror book based on a hotel, and I think that was the name of it. Hotel, I think.
Yeah. I vaguely remember that. So
they started with like 4 or 5 books, and they just expanded. I thought that what they were going to do is they were attempting to build a cohesive universe, but with some of these more recent offerings, I think they have started splitting off and just doing other tales,
doing whatever.
Yeah.
So, well, I mean, that's fine too. I mean, I can get
yeah.
So sometimes it's easier to get into sort of a unified world of titles and stuff like that, but then you feel like, or at least I do, because I'm that wired in the head, like, I gotta buy them all because I gotta read everything.
You gotta start weighing, do I want to keep doing that, or
So, but good stuff. Yeah, I'm interested. So we'll, like I said, I'll pick up a couple more books. I'm sure, try them out,
Cool beans.
and see if they're any good, or at least for me, if they're any good. So, all right, that's it. In the reviews, unless you got something else.
No, I think
I
I'm
had a
good.
couple other books. I had Mindset #2 from Vault. I mean, I talked about the first issue of that. That it was more of the same. I didn't have anything else to really talk about on it.
Okay.
It's still good. Not great, but it's still entertaining. So that's the thing. And then a couple other books. But yeah, so trying to cut down to the 3 is always a difficult thing. But it's what we have to do. It's the sacrifices that we make for this show.
Well, it's the opposite for me, because I sit around on weekends and I read 80s X-Men or
right.
mid 90s
Keep
Image
it on. Next week, I'm going to be talking about it's going to be Savage Dragon, Cyberforce, and it's Shadowhawk. It's going to be
There you
all
go. Yes.
90s Image
Yes.
stuff. So we're going to have an episode of just Image addiction is what we're
bringing Image back.
So,
Heck yeah.
just and and that's been the fun thing about, I've sort of turned this corner that I'm getting back into checking out just everything that's on the shelf now.
Sure.
And so that's been what, and the viewers appreciate the sacrifice. You know what, Potato, some of us, it's the little things that some people think we do, but really it's a huge thing. And we do what we can for all of you. So.
You guys out there listening in need to come over to the forums and see. We've started talking about different books, and you can see the breadth of books that we have started talking about, and that kind of gives you a brief insight as to the brains of those people that are starting those posts and where their interests lie.
That's the brains.
I keep trying to wrong one. I
do the
trying
same
to get
thing.
Somebody over there to start something, because I know
that
it will fit in with something he wants to do. But
all right, so this is the forum here. As you see, it constantly tells me I'm a guest, so I always have to log back in. But yes, so there's a lot going on here. Actually, let me zoom this in a little bit.
Go down to the bottom, Chris, where the
make this a little more reader friendly
section is.
So, and make sure I have my cursor on the right screen. So these are all different podcasts that folks put the let's read along. So we've got The Spirit, Clone Saga, Image Year 1, and then New 52. Wow. So you're talking about in year 1? Yeah, there you go. So he's got the reading order. Oh dear Lord. Savage Dragon.
He's just looking at the books that came out in 92 or maybe 92 and 93.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
So yeah, there's the order. Yeah, that's got to be 93, because that many books didn't come out in 92.
No. Oh no, there's only like maybe this many.
Yeah, there were only like 4 down to Supreme 1.
Well, Cyberforce came out in November, I think. So no, you're right. Supreme did come out like December
at the very end of 92. Yeah. So that's almost just what came out in 92, and I think that's as far as he's going to go.
Yeah, but that's good stuff.
In honor of their 30th anniversary. Now, the New 52 one you mentioned, that's mine. I'm going to look at each of the first issue for the New 52 books.
Oh, okay. Cool.
And I'll start that this weekend and do one book a week. If I can keep it up, that'll last me a year, and there we go. So
I definitely need to get in here and talk about at least Savage Dragon. So let's see.
Yeah, that one just went up today.
So getting in here, he kind of gives a little rundown of what's happening in the issue, and that's kind of it. And then gives his opinion.
Then the next post will be his thoughts, and then we just go from there. And the way that forum is set up is every book will have its own page.
Right.
So all the comments will just be about that one issue. That way you don't have to scroll up and down to try to figure out which one, whatever. That's the way we wanted to set it up, so that it's easier to continue conversations about a
Yeah.
particular issue.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. All right, cool. Well, I guess I need to get in here and call some havoc. So
And then that Spirit is the original Spirit newspaper strips.
I was wondering, how far back y'all are going to go on that.
Yeah.
So the 40s.
That one's mine. I haven't gotten anybody to comment. I guess nobody cares about the Spirit.
It
What I was trying to do is catch up, and then when I get there, I'll do one a week, roughly corresponding to the week of release in whatever it is, 39, 40, whatever year we're in. So I'm just about caught up to that. I need to do another couple or three more. They're only 7 pages each.
Oh, well, that's not too bad then.
Yeah. It's a newspaper Sunday. It's the equivalent of like a Sunday edition for.
Yeah.
But Will Eisner's art, for anybody that is familiar with Will Eisner, his art at that time is just wow. It's just impeccable. It's amazing.
Yep, totally agree. I really wish I had picked up those archives.
Yeah, I've got the first. I kept up with the archives through the end of like World War II. I think that's the first like 7 or 8, and then I've got most of the Spirit magazine by Fantagraphics, I think, which did all of the post-war stuff. So between the two, I think I've got just about everything. I'll find out as I get closer to other things. But
yeah, true.
Right now I'm just in that first archive, so I'm good for a little while.
Cool. So folks, definitely go by the forums. It is justanotherfanboy.freeforums.net. It's all in the show notes. If you're checking us out on YouTube, it's already in the show notes for every episode. If you come by the website, comicaddiction.net, you can see it in the individual show posts. It's there. And if you check us out on the podcast, it is there as well. You'll probably have to cut and paste there, but it's listed.
Thank you, Hyper. I know that the Spirit, that's kind of a gray beard thing. I mean, I know a lot of the newer people. It's probably just kind of difficult to find that stuff to get a hold of to read at this point. I mean, you have to be long enough comic reader to have gotten it back when it first, not when it first, but when it first was reprinted.
Right.
Because now even the reprinted stuff is just exorbitantly high, and I don't know, unless they pick it up for something, I don't imagine it's going to be reprinted anywhere like ever again. So
I need it for historical reasons.
Well, I wanted to read it because it's Eisner, and actually this is the first Eisner I've ever read. I've heard about him for years, and I'm just like, well, I'll just try to read. I mean, I hadn't read him yet, and I thought, well, I'll just try to read what like put him on the map. Everybody talks about the Spirit when they say Eisner, so I'm like, okay, I'll read it.
Yep. It's a good call. All right. Well, I appreciate everybody coming by the show here tonight on Thursday. If you don't normally do that, if you want to come check us out, we record on YouTube every Thursday night. Next 2 weeks might be iffy. We'll inform all of you a little later on that, on Twitter and stuff like that, but we'll talk about that here in a second. But yeah, come by the show. We record Thursday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, PM, if I didn't say that. But we typically, if you follow us on Twitter, we'll post that day, letting you know that we're recording and give you a link to the show so you can go put a reminder or whatever. So if you want to follow the show, you can follow us on Twitter. It's at Comic Addiction. You can follow Ed at Teal Productions. You can follow me at Chris Parton. Again, you can come by the website, comicaddiction.net. That has a listing for all of the podcasts with all the show notes and cover art. There's link to the forums, both in the front page or the homepage, as well as in individual posts and stuff like that. There are also some links to where you can download and listen to the show as far as the podcast goes, the audio version of the show. So if you want to email us, you can do that at comicbookaddict@gmail.com. Please put in the show notes, or excuse me, not the show notes, in the heading subject matter. There you go. Wow, learn how to write an email. That's hard to do in your brain. Just like, where's all that
late.
Supposed to be?
It's a long week.
It's late too. Yeah,
long day, and yep.
And my belly is still full from Greek food.
Boo-hoo.
So And then I had a nice breakfast casserole right before the show. Oh, so good. Lots of sausage. But yeah, you can put in the subject line for the show. That way we'll know. That way I'll at least be aware of it. We still, like I've said before in other shows, we're still on mailing list for other things. I just want to make sure I get your email. So comicbookaddict@gmail.com. Again, all that's in the show notes. So at forums, go there. Blah blah blah. I'm kind of making sure we got everything. Yep, that's cool. We do have a giveaway that I want to let everybody know about. If you've made it this far into the show, I appreciate it. Ed, if you can let everybody know what that book is, and I'll tell everybody how
it is. The Wrath of God, Empire Comics, Aaron Lopresti. It was an Indiegogo. Somehow I got 2 copies of it. If you can see the back, it's still taped shut there. I read one of the copies, which is what you're supposed to do. It's a Western.
Yeah.
Supernatural Western. That's a werewolf. That's a werewolf. This is your protagonist. It's square bound, so it's like
nice
probably 64 pages ish.
Cool. Lopresti does some good stuff.
Yes, he does.
So if you'd like a chance, we're going to make this super easy. This is how everybody on YouTube does it, I'm sure. But really, the easiest way to do it is come by this particular episode. This is episode 44. All you need to do is like and just put a comment down.
Episode 144.
144, excuse me. What did I say? Just 44?
44, yeah.
Oh, no, don't do that. That'll throw everybody off.
That is a way back.
Yeah, so sorry about that. My apologies. Come here to the YouTube channel, like and comment on episode 144. And be sure, if you want bonus points, if you've listened this far, then you should already know the answer. But tell everybody or put in the comments what show Mike Myers mentioned earlier in the episode.
Oh, yes, excellent drop.
And Hyper's quite right. Chris have directed 100 episodes. That's what my brain immediately just does. That it's not dyslexia. It's like subtraction or something.
Minus
like
100.
Yeah. So whatever that weird thing is. And please subscribe. I'm not going to require anybody to subscribe. I mean, I know that's a thing. We definitely want to get our numbers up. There are a lot of things that we can do here on YouTube once we get over a certain number, and we want to be able to do those kind of things. But we get there when we get there. That's we're if you subscribe to us already, thank you very much. If you're going to be subscribing to us after you hear this, awesome, appreciate it. But again, it's never anything that we really push on anybody. That's why we don't say it too much. And whatever we do, it's kind of in jest. So, but definitely come by. Hyper, again, Greek food leads to video deletion. It probably does. But it was so good. So I'll stop talking about my Greek food adventures. But yeah, so that was it. So I hope everybody has a good rest of the week. Again, this is recorded on Thursday night, so some of you will be listening to this as early as Saturday. That's usually when I try to get the podcast up. If I get it up before then, cool. No guarantees, but I'll try and get it up there on Saturday so you guys can check it out. So as always, thank you for listening. Ed, as always, thank you for joining me.
Yes, sir.
We will catch all of you next week for episode 145. Goodbye.
Ciao.
I'd like to do a dramatic pause right before I finish. It throws everybody off. Is he done talking? So, all right. So that's it for the show tonight. Again, I lost my mind. My dog was barking in the background for about the first hour and a half of the show.
Oh, really? I didn't hear anything at all.
Oh, yeah. He's just mad because I'm not downstairs. That's all it is. He's like, oh, it's Thursday. You're supposed to always be sitting next to me. It's like, no, that's not the case. So, but thank you everybody for hanging out with us. Hyper, Doug was there for a little while. Hopefully he's still around or was still around. Mike Myers, as always. Terry, thank you for joining us and reminding us who really is in charge at your house.
We
Ed.
have regulars.
I know we do. It's quite fun.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah. And then Hyper, one last thing before we get out of here. San Francisco Dirty Comics, I heard, not the dog. It's true. So good. Glad everybody couldn't hear the dog. It was a little bit annoying. If you saw me, every so often I would be texting my daughter, "Can you go take care of the dog, please?" So, all right.
Still home?
No, we're not getting into that here on the show.
Well, no, I just thought that it was time to go back to.
We will talk about that at some other point.
Ouch.
Y'all have a good evening.
Well, okay.
Here, let me zoom out a little bit. Y'all have a good evening, because I was trying to wave and my camera's flipped, so I'm thinking I'm closer than I really am. So when you're trying to do this, really
that throws me off really badly.
StreamYard is great except for the mirror. It's like, and you can tell it to flip, but then we'll be literally looking at opposite directions at that point. So.
Oh, yikes.
Well, I'll have to like move our cameras to I'll have to be on the left side. You'll have to, or the opposite side. So,
right.
Anyway, so we will catch all of you next week. Goodbye, YouTube.
Bye, guys.